Hey guys, Catherine here. I made these bead caps the other day and I specifically said that I wanted to use them for making tassels. I want to make extra tassels to include on birthday presents because birthday season for my family is coming up. And I want to include tassels in things like Happy Mail. So I made a bunch of bead caps and I'm going to use them to complete tassels. I want to show you the first way that I use to make tassels. I use a card that is about the length that I want the tassel to end up being. This one happens to be about 2 1/8 of an inch, and some embroidery floss. And to do this, the first thing that I do is I just take the embroidery floss and I wrap it around the card. I'm going to continue wrapping it around the card until I get an amount that I think would be good for a tassel. You know, it's gonna make a nice amount of ends on a tassel. That's the word I was looking for, ends. I'm going to make a nice amount of ends on the tassel, which may take a couple of moments. Here we go. Just keep doing some until I get an amount that I think would be a nice amount, which, if you can see it, so you can see it on one side, that's going to be half of the amount of ends for the tassel, because you've also got the other side. Go. That's probably a good amount. And then I want to end it on the same side that my end originally started on. I don't know if you noticed, but I lined up the starting end with the edge of the board, and I want to end it on that same edge, because those will also be at the bottom of the tassel. I'm just going to take my scissors and trim it off. And then I want to hold it with the one hand because I don't want it to come all unraveled. And with the other hand, tuck the end underneath, in between all of those wraps that I just did and the board, so that it's fully halfway in between. And then I want to trim it to the same length. And this I'm going to cut long because I don't mind losing a little bit on this, but I want to be able to tie a knot in it. So I'm going to pull it up to the top edge of the card and tie a knot. Go as tight as I can make it. And then a second knot, also just as tight as I can go, and that should be good. Now I'm going to slide it off of the card so that I end up with loops with a knot around them at one side. And then set this aside because I don't need it anymore, set the card aside. And then I could wrap it with thread if I wanted to, and that would create a nice contrasting color. And I think I will. So you might notice I'm not measuring too much on any of this. I'm just estimating lengths and things. It's not super important that you measure it out. It'll end up how it ends up. Okay, so I'm going to take the short end off of that thread and wrap it around the same end that I tied the knot in, just as tightly as I can make it, and then go the opposite direction. Again, just wrapping it as tightly as I can make it, and this is what's going to form the head of the tassel. Go. And wrap it around however many times you want so that you end up with, oh, I'm losing my end there. Need to keep that out because I need to tie it off, although that's going to end up being too short to tie it off. That's all right. I'll figure it out. Wrap it around however many times you want. This is what's going to create the contrasting color band on the tassel just below the head of yarn. I like them pretty thick, which is why I let out so much thread and why I'm continuing to wrap it so much. Go. Because I like it to be very secure and very tight and very thick because it's a contrasting color. It's meant to give, what's the word I'm looking for? Difference and give interest. There we go. Interest was what I was thinking of. And then I will hold on to the tassel with a couple of fingers and the end of the thread with another couple of fingers on the same hand so that I can use the scissors to trim that thread. And then what I think I want to end up doing is actually, because that end did end up, the starter end ended up too short to tie it off, I'm going to try and see if I can't thread a needle onto this. Hang on, I have to pull it way up close to my face because I'm not wearing my glasses right now. There we go. Okay, come on, you. Alright, so just thread the needle onto it. Aha! Success. Okay, and then go through those wraps and then pull it all the way through and tight, and then back through again. And I'll do this probably a couple times so that it secures itself off and I don't have to worry about the end pulling out. And once I've done that for a couple of times and I don't have to worry about the end pulling out anymore, I can trim off the excess. Go. There we go. Set that needle back aside. Trim off the excess thread because it'll stay secure and in place now. See if I can't find the other end. Nope, it's lost. No problem. There we go. All right, and then we've got these loops down here. So I'm just going to take my scissors and run them through there and slice that and then check and make sure that I got all of them, and I think I did. Oop, nope, missed a couple. There we go. And if this does end up being longer than you want for a tassel, you can always trim it shorter. See, I've got a long one there. Just trim that shorter. And if you want the tassel to be shorter, you can trim it shorter too. I really like this length. I feel like it's a good length for me. That's why I use that card. I found that card inside some elastic lace, actually. All right, and then to finish the tassel off, we are going to use one of our bead caps, the ones that I made the other day, and I think the pink and white one, or maybe the pink and black one. Oh, yeah, the pink and black one. Okay, and put both of the ends that I tied that original knot through the bead cap, which is why we made sure we had a good strong hole at the top. See if we can't lace both of them through. Go. Oh, come on, you. Maybe twirl them together a little bit. That might help. Get one to guide the other through, maybe, sort of, kind of, hopefully. And there we are. Okay, and then pull that down tight so that the top of the tassel pulls up into the bead cap and hides everything. Hides all of our mistakes and knots. There we go. And then I like to put them on lobster clasps. So I am going to tie a lobster clasp onto the top of this. I'll just grab a lobster clasp from my box here and pull those apart and slide it on one end of the lobster clasp and slide it down and tie a knot. And then probably another knot because I don't trust the first one to hold on its own. And then maybe a third knot just to make sure. And I am tying them on opposite sides of the lobster clasp because I want it to stand up straight, and that will make it stand up straight. And I could continue tying as many knots here as I wanted to. This thread is pink. It matches everything else. There we go. Okay, and then just maybe tie another single knot on the same side just to make sure that it stays. Because why do anything once when you can do it excessively? There we are. And then trim off the extra ends. And there we have it. One tassel done. This is one of my favorite styles of tassel, but there's another one that's even easier to do that I want to show you as well. And for it, I like to use tulle. So it should end up looking something like this. I've already made a couple, and it looks sort of like it sort of looks like a ballerina's tutu. But this is actually easier to do. All you need is a strip or so of tulle, and you want to take the tulle and form a piece that is about the length you want for the tassel. So just take it and fold it over and then cut it to, yeah, I think I want that a little bit shorter. Cut it to that length and then do the same thing for as many pieces as you want. I usually like 4 or 5 pieces of the same length in order to get me that look. I don't know if you can see this. I've got a handful of tulle here, but it can be kind of hard to see on camera because it's so thin. It's such a large, wide tulle. All right, last piece. There we go. And then I'm going to use the same pink because it will be mostly covered by the bead cap, so it doesn't really matter. And just trim that off for like that length or so. And then take my tulle and just sort of tie it somewhere near the middle. I don't have to be exact. I'm not measuring anything. This is meant to be a quick, easy project. Just tie it somewhere near the middle. Ignore the sounds the cats are making in the other room. Tie knots in your tulle. Do excessive knots so that you know that it'll stay in place. And then you end up with this sort of wheel, bow-looking bit of tulle. And then, this is why it's so easy. You take one of your other bead caps. I think I want to do a blue and green one. This one's blue and green swirls, so it'll match the tulle, but it's not exact. And that's got a bend in it that's making it not want to go through easily. So I'll just trim it off and then run your, in this case, embroidery floss, but thread would work just as well. Run it up through the end of the bead cap and then hold your tulle down and pull on the end of the thread so that the tulle gets pulled up into the bead cap and gets held down and in shape. And then if you don't like the shape, you can trim it off. You could trim it at angles so that you had ones of different length. But that's it for that one. And again, I like to put a lobster clasp on them. It keeps it easy to use, means that I can just clip it to whatever I want. Go. Oh, that didn't work. That's okay. Other end. There we go. And tie it off really well with more knots than you think that you need. That way it'll stay. That way you know that it will stay. You don't have to worry about it. So, there we are, and then trim the ends off. And you have another kind of tassel. I think I probably will trim this one up a little bit shorter. I'm not sure I like how long it is now, and I may do it at angles so that the pieces that are sticking down are sort of different lengths and sort of spiky looking maybe. The way I picture it in my head, it turns out spiky, but we shall see. Go. At angles. There we go. And sort of straighten it back out, and then that's how it turns out. I don't know whether or not you can see that well. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell, but that's how you make a tassel with tulle in one of the bead caps. So that's two different designs of tassel with the bead caps that I showed you how to make just the other day. I am going to go ahead and keep making more of these because I enjoy them and I want to have more, and I've got a bunch more bead caps to use. I am glad you stuck around to watch this, and I will see you guys all later. And remember to subscribe. Bye!